Some of you have asked me which stainless steel submod I think is the best, titanium or the stainless steel historical improvement project. I think both are great, but I will let you decide for yourselves. In the next two videos, I will showcase the Kingdom of Jerusalem and 6 of the eastern factions in a Citadel siege. This time we will watch the siege in titanium, a total conversion submod for stainless steel itself, a total conversion mod for Medieval 2 Total War Kingdoms. Some people have asked where can one download these mods. I have links in the descriptions. Both mods are in beta, but I would recommend that you wait until they are released, when the installation process will have been simplified and the game will run as smoothly as possible. So we are in a Citadel siege in the Titanium submod. The Citadel is defended by the Kingdom of Jerusalem. The main thing to see today are the units and some of the siege features. The first unit is the Templar Longbowmen. Like most of the other units of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, they are from stainless steel 6.4. The next unit are the Mounted Knights of St. Lazarus. This was a short-lived order founded just before the collapse of the Kingdom of Jerusalem and made up of about 40 knights that suffered from leprosy. You had to suffer from leprosy to be admitted to this order, and we can imagine these knights must have been absolutely fearless. Next to them is the General's Bodyguard. Here is the dismounted version of the St. Lazarus Knights, yielding some mighty axes. They induce fear, much like the Coyote Priests in the Americas. Their approach tells brave men to flight. The next unit are the awesome-looking Edessa Guard. We also have some Templar two-handed swordsmen. Next are the Canons of the Holy Sepulchre, dressed to party. A unit of Foot Knights of Jerusalem. Two companies of Templar Sergeants. A unit of the more fashionably dressed Templar Heavy Spearmen. A company of Hospitaller Foot Knights. A unit of Templar Foot Knights. Very impressive looking. A company of Crusader Foot Knights. And next, these amazing levy archers, the world's sexiest looking levies. A new unit model by Paleologus, a modeler for the Titanium submod. Then the Templar Longbowmen, and here another unit of the levy archers. Some of them were Gumbensons. Very nice looking. Off now to my favorite Eastern faction, the Khwarezmi units, which are absolutely amazing. Here are some Saracen spearmen in mail and partial plate carrying some ladders. Over here are some Persian spearmen in mail and lamella armor, with wonderfully decorated helmets and shields. Look at the detail on their helmets. Amazing. Fantastic work from an older version of stainless steel. Next, here are some heavy spearmen and a unit of heavy armored axemen. These are equivalent to the Tabardaria, with bejeweled and lacquered helmets. Wonderful helmets, really wonderful looking. Next, a unit of Khwarezm archers with sexy beards and some wonderful work on their helmets and tunics. A unit of heavy cataphract lancers with Cuman helmets, with these characteristic Cuman face masks. They have lamella body armor and also mail. Then here is the Khwarezm General's Bodyguard, a unit of golems with armor upgrades. At least some of them seem to have armor upgrades. A company of Persian archers. They also have armor upgrades, lamella, armor, and mail. They are followed by some armored Saracen archers, all very fearsome looking. And they have some wonderful undergarments as well, wonderful helmets, very sexy moustaches. And finally here some heavy cataphract cavalry with, again, wonderfully decorated helmets. Let's now move to the next faction, Egypt. A unit of Bedouins in loose garments. They are supposed to have an armor upgrade, but it seems to consist of yet more loose clothing. Behind them are these Tabadoria with armor upgrades. These are similar to the vanilla type, I believe, but very awesome looking. So Egypt is also another faction with very nice units. So those were some golems. Here this cataphract unit is the General's Bodyguard. So these are presumably golems. Here's a guy that looks like Saladin, but the real Saladin is here. That was his double. So here's a guy who looks like Saladin from the movie Kingdom of Heaven. And here's a unit of Saracen mercenary swordsmen. Some mercenary Saracen archers with heavy armor. More Bedouins. In reality, I imagine most Saracen units from this period would have worn at least some mail and a helmet, and I think loose clothing was meant to protect the armor from the sun. But in any case, so here are some heavy armored spearmen, here are more Bedouins in their extra loose clothing. We've moved on to the Ifriqiya or Moors. I think these are the Moors. So these were some Christian guards there, and here's some spearmen. That's right, moved on to the Moors now. Here are some Bedouins on horse, Bedouin spearmen. Here's the Moorish General's Bodyguard, a bodyguard of golems. Some Bedouins on camels, or Moors on camels. They wear sandals, at least they have a shield. And some Moorish Bedouin archers, very nice looking, also like the dust. And now we moved on to the next faction. The next faction is the Abbasid Caliphate. They have an interesting color combination with black, yellow, and red. So these were some heavy armored spearmen. A unit of presumably heavy armored archers. They are carrying some ladders here. More heavy armored spearmen, Saracen-like. And some more Turkish looking ones. Some heavy armored spearmen. Here they are again from the other side with a citadel in the background. And some cataphract cavalry, the Abbasid General's Bodyguard, mixed in with some armored archers. Here's a light unit. I'm not sure where these come from. They seem to be a new unit of some kind. I'm not sure which mod it comes from. Could be from Broken Crescent. Could be. I'm not sure. It could be on Paleologos models. Could be a new model from somewhere else. Sorry, I do not know where they come from. So here are some more golem types with enormous lances. And marker horses, notice, wonderful looking. So here is the next faction, the Turks. Here are some Saracen swordsmen with armor upgrades. Some Nafatun there. Some golems, possibly, dismounted golems with swords. Wonderful units. I really like the look of these units. And some heavy armored Saracen archers. Over here, 2 cavalry units. Here's a unit of golems, presumably, with heavy armor. And here is possibly the Turkish general's bodyguard on cataphract horses. Also some Ottoman infantry here. Very interesting unit with very expensive tunics. I cannot imagine why one would wear these in battle. So here are now the final faction. These are the Cumans. So these are the crews of the Cuman catapults and trebuchets. The Cuman infantry unit, they are carrying maces, I do believe. This is a unit from Rushichi Total War. They have Cuman face masks. Very wonderful unit. No, they are spearmen, heavy armored spearmen. So the Cuman units are from Rushichi Total War, and of course they look amazing. So these are archers, Cuman archers. The units from Rushichi Total War are the best of the best. They are just simply amazing. So here's a unit of ordinary spearmen, Cuman spearmen, dismounted ones. And finally some Cuman cavalry. As you might expect, the Cumans should have plenty of cavalry. So some more Cumans with their wonderful face masks. One of them doesn't have a face mask. Most of them do. Here is the Cuman general's bodyguard. They only have partial masks, and only some of them. They have the masks of the Druzina type. And some Cuman archers, very wonderful looking, and with beautiful horses. One thing Titanium has is it has the marker horses from Rushichi. And here are another unit I didn't get to show to you. These are Levi Spearmen, also excellent work by Paleologos, very sexy looking. And the battle has begun, so we are on the side of the Khwarezm units. And they are advancing towards the walls. Here are the various beautiful units in the desert dust. Amazing looking units. The units the Saracens get, these various Eastern factions, the Muslim factions mainly, are really wonderful looking. They're among the best. All the Eastern factions, also the Russians, the Byzantines, have wonderful looking units. Here the St. Lazarus Knights have charged these golems that were pushing around towards gate. They've charged them here for the second time, and this unit has been almost completely obliterated. And I do think we haven't lost a single horseman so far. So these St. Lazarus Knights are absolutely deadly. They totally slaughtered this entire unit of dismounted golems, which is an elite infantry unit, without losing a single horseman. So they are now attacking the rear of this human-like unit. Some sort of Petzenegg or human-like unit. Attack them in the rear, they obliterated them, they still haven't lost a single horseman. And now these Ottoman-like halberdiers are coming to help. And they have almost obliterated this unit of spearmen, but in the meantime they lost a couple of horsemen who collided with the halberdiers head-on. So they lost about 3 horsemen there. Now they're about to attack the rear of this other heavy spear unit. And this charge was not very successful. They managed to kill a few spearmen. I think they lost just 1 horseman. And now they are retreating, they're taking refuge behind the main gate. These spearmen are wonderful looking. They also have these wonderful undergarments, and the armor is just amazing. The detail on their helmets, their neck guards, the partial plate, everything about them is so amazing looking. And so this is the other side. Here, one of the desert factions are attacking. The Abbasids are thinking they're about to break down the gate. And that was our general with his bodyguard. He ran off.
Sacre-bleu! The enemy's ram has breached the gates!
And the enemy's ram has broken down the gate. So the Abbasids have broken down the gate over here. And the first units are now pouring into the citadel.
Cappadoce! The enemy have the walls! Look to our defense or all will be lost!
So our 2 cavalry units were manning the towers and the 2
The enemy
gates.
have ladders at the walls! Repel the attackers! Give them steel!
And now they're retreating into the second layer of the citadel. We are outnumbered 3-1 in terms of Florins and men.
Bon sang! The enemy are battering down our gates!
So I'm not going to defend the outer walls. I'm not even going to defend the middle walls. Here are some units taking refuge behind some buildings.
Our cunning foe has reached our walls with their siege tower! We must repel the invaders!
Siege tower has been docked on the outer walls. So here we have the dismounted St. Lazarus Knights. Behind them various other knights. And these heavy axemen are making it up the walls. And these heavy spearmen are pushing around against our gates. We also have these wonderful looking upgraded Saracens here putting ladders on the second layer of the walls.
Our enemy's ladders have reached the walls. It is time for butcher's work.
So a small unit is pushing this ram. It looks like it was a depleted unit that was that suffered some casualties in the fighting earlier on. And these mercenary Saracens are going up the second layer of the walls. And now the mercenary Saracens are moving towards the gate towers. And here's the view from above. You see they're approaching the gate towers. There's also a ram, a siege ram banging on the gates. The mercenary Saracens have come out of the little gate of one of the towers, and the gateway has been lost. The St. Lazarus Knights are now heading back into the inner keep. Here are these wonderful Templar Knights here. We have some stakes at the gate. And some very nice looking Abbasid heavy armored spearmen are being followed by these Berbers in their long garments. And some Hashashim here. Behind them come these Ghulams, they're Abbasid Ghulams, dismounted Abbasid Ghulams. And these are in turn followed by some archers with their wonderful robes. I'd hate to see them spoiled in battle. The archers have been followed by these Bedouins. They're also archers. They also carry small shields. Behind the Bedouins, emerging from the dust, are these very unique Senegalese swordsmen. I'm not sure what unit this is. I don't remember it from stainless steel. It could be a new unit. And behind the Senegalese swordsmen are some of these mercenary Saracen archers. They are very well armored. They also have armor upgrades. All these units are Abbasid units, I think, so far. The majority of them are Abbasid units, but here now we have some probably Moorish units. This looks like the Christian Guard. Might have been some Moorish units among the ones that just passed by. And so now a mix of units are coming through the second layer of walls. They are moving towards the inner keep. Here's a well-organized, well-disciplined unit of archers. No, they are swordsmen, I think. And a unit of armored spearmen over here. More Bedouins on camels, I think, and some on horses. They are Moorish units, the ones here. And we have some mangonels. They're about to start shooting at the approaching Saracen units. And the mangonels have started firing. And they're hitting this unit that's bringing some ladders up to the walls. Here are those Senegalese swordsmen. At this point the battle crashed. Rather than starting all over again, I will continue from this point onwards. So the ladders are going up, and here they have been put up already. This is from another a restart of the battle, but we're back to the same point. And there are more ladders being brought up to the far wall. There are also some siege rams being brought. And the mangonels are firing. There are also some casualties.
Our enemy's ladders have reached the walls. It is time for butcher's work.
Right, there are more ladders up the walls, and here at the front are some Saracens. They've died. They're the charred remains of those who died from fire arrows, from flaming arrows shot by our longbowmen. So various interesting units are moving towards the ladders.
The enemy have a ram at our gates.
And one of the rams is at the gates of the inner keep. So we have a mix of wonderful units, both Bedouin type units as well as Saracen type units in heavy armor. There are some Turks here. They're a mix of different ethnicities. And here these Ghulams are pushing more ladders towards the walls. In the meantime, we can admire the various beautiful units. We see some Ghulams, we see some mercenary Saracens in their beautiful armor. Also some Persian archers that seem to have possibly shot their arrows. They're standing by. There are these Bedouin types, and various units are now heading for the ladders that are being put up on the walls. The mangonels keep firing. Here mangonel shot killed half a dozen Saracens, a few more have died from this shot.
Our enemy's ladders have reached the walls. It is time for butcher's work.
So more ladders have gone up the walls, more units of the enemy are coming towards the walls. There's a unit of light Cuman infantry spearmen. They have been routed. The mangonel keeps firing, and he has scored a good hit. And the eastern factions keep suffering casualties from our mangonels. It looks like the unit that was manning the ram has retreated, but now another unit is going over to take hold of that ram that was ramming our gates. Here the Turkish siege ram is being brought up, and in fact looks like the Turks are bringing up 2 siege rams. For some reason, one of the units on this side have taken down the ladders. That's a little bit buggy. Why did they take down the ladders? There's nowhere else to put them up. These are the only spots you can put ladders up, the walls in the inner keep. So more siege rounds are being brought towards the walls. The Turkish general's bodyguard is standing by. And here's the fighting on the walls. Some Turkish gulams have gone up the walls, and they are fighting with our cannons of the Holy Sepulchre and an elite Templar unit up there. More spearmen are coming up this way. It looks like there's some sort of steppe spearmen. Our longbowmen are firing flaming arrows into those units there near the gate. And here a mangonel shot killed quite a few of the enemy, and a second mangonel shot killed another half dozen. More and more enemy units are coming up the walls. So I would say so far it looks like the enemy is fighting reasonably well. They put ladders on most of the walls, but the far side the ladders backed out and they were taken down. And it looks like they brought so many rams that there is a traffic jam of rams, and I have a feeling the rams there have backed out as well. Mangonels keep shooting, inflicting casualties on our enemy. The Turkish general's bodyguard is in a very dangerous spot there. And these Kingdom of Jerusalem units here look like they're dressed up for carnival. I don't know why they look like that. Some of them look like they have pharaoh headdresses or something. I don't know what the idea is. I don't think these are stainless steel units. I could be wrong, maybe they are stainless steel units. I don't remember them. They were introduced at some point. I don't know what the idea is and why they look like that. I don't really like them. They look like... Are there any women here? No, 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 no. So they Tambadoria here with a giant axes. They joined up with some Cumans, and some of the other units are standing back here at the rear. There are some of those heavy Khwarezm axemen. There are various gulams holding maces. And of course the Gulam cavalry, a very nice unit in Marka horses. This is one of the Kharezm units. I think they're heavy lancers, cataphract lancers. Some archers in the foreground. And the Kharezm flags here. It looks like the battle has quieted down. And at this point, I'm fairly sure that Ram at the front gate has backed out for some reason. The Saracens are bringing in their cavalry, their bodyguards, but the battle seems to have stalled. There you see the damage is 28%. Nobody's pushing the ram at the front. There's a ram behind it. I don't think anyone is pushing the second ram. In fact, I don't think anybody's pushing any of the rams. They've been abandoned. And I don't know then why all these units are sitting there. It could well be that the particular rams belong to particular factions. It could be there's no one from that faction still fighting, and those that are still around, the rams have been burned, and so the situation at the gate has been stalled. Nonetheless, our enemies are trying to storm the walls here. They're bringing up various units, but they rout immediately. You see, as soon as they try to come up, they rout. And we have some heavy units up here. They are defending the walls. Here are those Templar longbowmen. Unfortunately, the animation is not great. The arrows don't look so good. The bowstrings are now being pushed back, and there's no arrow being loaded onto the bow. So it looks, the animation looks a little bit strange. Someone had done an animation where it looks like the bowstring is being pulled back. I'm not sure where that animation is, which mod, but it's not being used here. So now our longbowmen are forced into melee. Various units have come up, various swordsmen, a mix of units, some heavily armored, some medium armored spearmen rather than swordsmen. Various types of spearmen are up on the walls, and the fighting has been renewed. We have those Templars on the right, Templar swordsmen, Templar knights of some kind. More enemy spearmen are coming up on the walls. Oh, looks like they've all been routed. Here we have those cannons of the Holy Sepulchre. They have forced those swordsmen to retreat. And why are the enemy retreating? We have 2 units of these St. Lazarus knights, dismounted knights down here. And they must be smelling very bad, and so as soon as the Saracen units get onto the walls, their smell turns them away. We also have the mounted knights on this side, so we have 3 units of St. Lazarus knights around there, and they're a huge deterrent. So back to the main gate of the keep, in fact the only gate of the keep. There are a lot of Turkish units here, including the Turkish general's bodyguard. Several of the rams have been damaged. A couple of them are surviving, but I guess there's no unit to mount them. And so here are some of those nice looking spearmen. There are some archers walking about. They must have shot all their arrows. The Turkish general's bodyguard seems to be making a move, perhaps. He's well protected from our arrow fire. He has a very high defense, very good armor. Here's the situation inside the keep. You see we have some stakes at the front gate.
Only half the enemy force remains.
Some of the enemy infantry keeps coming up. here on this side, where we have some of our heavy units. So now we are facing some golems here with maces. All these Saracen units look amazing, I have to say. I really like the look of these units. I would have liked now and then to see some kind of garment hanging from them. They seem too armored just with pure armor. Maybe just the weather is it's a little bit cooler, so they don't need to cover their armor with garments to reduce the effect of the sun. So these golems have also been routed. Golems are very good units, but I think they're being routed because we have all those St. Lazarus Knights at the bottom of the walls. And so we have less than 3 minutes now left, and so we have won this battle. Even if the enemy breaks down the gates, I don't have enough time to take the plaza. This battle slightly backed out. It seems it was partly the effect of our defense, the demoralizing flaming arrows, the effect of the St. Lazarus Knights that demoralize the enemy, or the effects of the trebuchets, the damage on some of the siege rams and so on. So it was partly our tactic. No fault on the mod itself. The mod is actually very bug-free, and this version of the mod is an improvement because it has removed some of the scripts that were causing issues in the previous version of the mod. It's still a working version, but in the previous version of the mod there was a restriction on deployment and kind of controller command description restriction. And the idea behind it was good. Might have even once supported or suggested this idea. The problem is on deployment, when you have that script activated, you cannot deploy stakes, for example. You don't have enough time to deploy units in a fortress or a citadel to put them on the walls and so on. So the restrictions are too great, and so that script wasn't working very well. This mod has slightly higher defenses on the walls, so the walls are relatively stronger than in the Stainless Steel Historical Improvement Project. The walls are a little bit weaker, the gates are weaker, it's easier to break through walls. In the case of a citadel, here it's almost impossible to take. So citadels are pretty much safe in this mod. It's less so in the Stainless Steel Historical Improvement Project. We'll see that battle in the next episode. So, a victory.
We are victorious! The day has ended and spared our enemy an even greater defeat. May there be many more such victories!
Okay, so these are the results. We lost 75 men. There was no real fight. The enemy lost a lot of units, a lot of men from missile fire. You can see the St. Lazarus Knights caused a lot of casualties, the mounted ones. The Mangonel caused a ton of casualties, 386, nearly 400. And so it was a close victory, one might say. So, we'll watch the Stainless Steel Historical Improvement Project Siege in the next episode. Thank you for watching.
better